What is there to say about this Sean Strickland Israel Adesanya fight? Izzy won a total of one round, maybe. Could have very well lost every single round. That's actually neither here nor there. Obviously, he lost the fight, was in survival mode, damn near the whole entire 25 minutes, even before he got rocked towards the end of the first round by that right hand and that flurry of left hooks that Strickland was trying to finish him with. He was already allowing Strickland to push him back against the cage. I already didn't like that from the get-go. Can't expect to do the same thing you did with Pereira, using his aggression against him and having just the right moment to land that counter combination that Izzy likes to throw. Look at a lot of his highlights. Izzy will throw that right hand over the top and come up with a sort of left hook slash left uppercut 45-degree style punch. It's been successful for him in a lot of his fights, and it is exactly the combination he used in his UFC rematch with Alex Pereira, which got him the victory. It seems like that's really all he had to offer. Going backwards the whole night, he was allowing Strickland to dictate the pace. Majority of his strikes were leg kicks, and they were largely ineffective. Strickland was either checking them or they just weren't doing any damage. It wasn't causing impediment to Strickland's mobility, so it didn't do anything to slow Strickland down from continuously marching forward, staying in the pocket. Strickland's defense is really good, and his strategy didn't even have to be all that crazy. So here's what has a lot of people, including myself, dumbfounded. Some people will say now, in hindsight, Izzy was never that good, blah, blah, blah. It's easy to say that when someone has just suffered a loss, right? Unless you bet on Sean Strickland to win, you probably didn't really believe in your hypothesis all that much. Regardless of what you thought prior to the fight, Sean Strickland is a new middleweight champion of the UFC, and it was a huge upset. He employed a very basic game plan. Really, all he did was jab, cross, and an occasional front kick. Basically just cut off the octagon, held his hands up whenever Izzy was trying to attack him with any punches or kicks. Izzy didn't throw a lot of kicks. He threw a few question mark kicks. I didn't see him throwing any kicks up the middle. No teep kicks, no push kicks, no kicks to the gut, no kicks to the chin. It was just all leg kicks and circling back. Izzy was in survival mode the whole fight, and you even have some people saying it was fixed, it was rigged. I don't know about all that. Sometimes styles make fights, and Sean Strickland and his camp may very well have just seen that Izzy was getting too complacent and relying so heavily on that favorite combination of his, that right hand, left hook slash uppercut that he likes to throw. Izzy had to vanquish his own personal Goliath in his UFC rematch with Pereira. I'm sure he was feeling like, okay, we all know that Alex Pereira knocked out Sean Strickland. So maybe if you think 1 + 1 = 2, Alex knocked out Strickland, Izzy knocked out Alex, therefore Izzy should be able to knock out Strickland. But it doesn't always work out that way. Izzy's going to have to do something, maybe just get back to basics, because he has lost his belt twice in his last 3 fights, that maybe he should have to work his way back up. I mean, that's not a terrible argument, but being that Izzy was such an active champion, active fighter, and willing to fight against any and all challengers, that alone may just give him the credentials, the credit, the credibility that he needs to deserve an immediate rematch with Strick. If he does what he did against Alex, comes back, figures out a way to win, regains his title, then a lot of this Izzy was never that good talk will go away. But if for some reason he comes back and we have the same outcome or even worse, Strickland finishes him next time, that could signal the end of his career, or at least the beginning of his decline from the top. I myself started to get this weird vibe. I was getting Silva versus Weidman #1 type of vibes. Like I was just getting this image of Strickland somehow defeating an overly cocky version of Adesanya. It almost happened in the first round, but it's not something that I wanted to happen. So when I'm not going to call it a premonition because that sounds mystical and psychic and all that BS. No, it's just, I had an intuitive type of thought that maybe this would be a similar style of upset. I didn't trust it, nor did I want it to be true enough to actually put my money where my mind was. So I didn't profit off of that idea at all, but I did share that with some of my friends. Hey, this might go down like Silver Weidman #1, and it sort of did. It was a huge upset in that same vein. He's got to go back to the drawing board, get back to the desire to want to grind it out. His switching stances, his dipping back, dodging punches from the waist, and all that. It wasn't working against Strickland. He didn't get mesmerized by anything that Izzy was doing. He just kept it very basic. He stuck to the game plan. 1-2 combination, keep your guard up, throw a kick, block. The most basic game plan you can come up with, and sometimes that's the most effective game plan. Just get straight to the point. Shout out to Sean Strickland for fighting a good fight. He deserves to be the champion. He fought the right fight. It was a straightforward ass whooping. Will Strickland be able to defend his title? Will he be one and done champ? He's tough. He obviously knows how to fight, but it just seems like it's one of those things where people are saying, is this his Buster Douglas moment? Douglas vanquished the most ferocious fighter on the planet, Mike Tyson, and then in his very first defense against Holyfield, he got smoked, knocked out with one punch. It just doesn't make sense. A lot of times these things don't make sense. But Izzy was just relying too much on his last style bender mentality. Maybe he was believing his own hype. Leading up to the fight, he said that he was taking it very seriously, that a man with nothing to lose is a very dangerous man. He said he wasn't overlooking him, but didn't seem to be as energetic, as focused, as dialed in. It seemed like he thought he could just go in there and coast. The victory would come to him rather than him going out there and taking the victory. This is the outcome we get. Strickland wanted it. He went out there. He took it. So I'm no expert. I just call it how I see it. I think Izzy has what it takes if he goes back to basics, remains humble, and maybe adds a few new wrinkles to his game, because maybe people are getting privy to the tendencies that he likes to display in the octagon. It's like, you got to switch it up sometimes, because people figure out your timing, they figure out your patterns, they figure out your likes and your dislikes, and they can figure out ways to disrupt them. And that's what we saw with Strickland versus Adesanya on Saturday night. Who knows how quick they'll make this rematch happen. This victory by Sean Strickland created a lot of questions in a lot of people's minds about who Izzy really is and who he ever really was, and was he more hype than he was substance? I don't think so. I think he was all substance, but I am curious to see how he bounces back from this loss. He doesn't seem to be taking it too hard. There's already footage up of him partying on a bus after the fight. Didn't seem to be too down about it. Really, we don't know how he feels inside, but from all external perspectives, he looks to be not too concerned. And is that concerning? Like, should he be taking this loss more seriously? And who are we to say how he should be reacting right now? So I'm curious, as a fan of Izzy, and put my biases aside, I just want to see how he responds to this, and if he can come back and figure out a way to yet again regain his title after an surprising upset. Shout out to Sean Strickland. He stuck with the basics, kept his guard high, kept his guard tight, kept his punches straight, didn't try to do too much, and he came away the victor. So I'm no expert. I just call it how I see it. You tell me what you thought of the fight. You tell me what you thought were the factors that made Izzy look so ineffective. Sean Strickland said he felt like Izzy wasn't even trying, like he was fighting an amateur. Sheesh, the disrespect on that. The disrespect. But that's what he faced. It didn't even look like a hard fight for Strickland. So, he was even leaving his guard down and begging Izzy to engage with him in the final moments of the fifth, when Izzy still didn't want it. He just kept backing up. So he must have been cautious. After he was spun around in 180 degrees from that right hand that Strickland landed in the first round, he just did not want to really engage after that. And that's why he lost on points. So I'm no expert. I just call it how I see it. And until next time, UNO.